Yom Kippur is right around the corner, and a lot of us are thinking about forgiveness and atonement. But what about the really hard part? Actually making things right with the people in our lives. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into some surprisingly practical advice for that exact challenge. And you're not going to believe where it comes from. A collection of legal letters that are over 1,000 years old. It's the central question, isn't it? Praying, fasting, that's one thing. But actually fixing a broken friendship or settling a fight about money or making good on a promise you broke? Phew, that's where things get really tough. How do you actually repair the damage?
I know, it sounds a little wild, but some of the most down-to-earth, useful advice for our lives today comes straight out of ancient Babylonia. We're going to look at a bunch of real-world problems people were dealing with a millennium ago and see what their wisdom can teach us now.
So, what is this ancient guidebook? Well, it's a collection of texts known as the Teshuvat Haggaonium.
Okay, but don't think of this as some dry, dusty law book. It's more like an ancient advice column. Seriously. These are real letters from actual people facing messy, human situations, fights between business partners, broken promises, even theft. And they're writing to the top sages of their day, asking a simple question: what's the right thing to do here?
I mean, just listen to how direct that is. You can feel right away that this isn't some abstract philosophy. These are real people with real problems. The sages were dealing with the nuts and bolts of how people get along, or don't. So for this explainer, we've pulled out 3 big themes that pop up again and again in these letters. Themes that are just as important today as they were back then. We're going to look at integrity, especially in business, the real power our words carry, and finally, a step-by-step guide to actually apologizing and fixing our mistakes.
All right, first up, let's talk about integrity in business.
To really get what the Geonium were thinking, let's dive into a case study. It involves 2 guys who show up a lot in these texts, Reuben and Shimon, and they're having a major partnership dispute.
Okay, check this out. You've got Reuben, who puts up 100 gold coins but does 0 work. Then there's Shimon. He only puts in 3 coins, but he does all the work. So when it's time to cash out, Shimon says, hey, I did everything. I should get a bigger cut. Makes sense, right? But the ruling is, nope, profits are split 50-50. Why? Because a partnership is a partnership. They made a deal.
The big takeaway here is really powerful. A deal is a deal. Your word is your bond. In this case, fairness wasn't about who worked harder. It was about honoring the agreement you made from the start. It's a huge lesson about being clear and sticking to your commitments, whether you're starting a company or just splitting a dinner bill.
And they took this so seriously that there was even a formal process for ending a business relationship. You couldn't just say, I'm out. You had to get your partners okay, settle up all the money, and formally release each other from any future claims. It's all designed to make sure things end fairly and without bad blood. So, if a business agreement carries that much weight, what about the promises we just say? That brings us to our second lesson, the real weight of our words. To the Jew nation, making an oath wasn't a casual thing at all. It was like you were creating a new reality with your words. Words have consequences. Once you make a promise, once you swear an oath, you are tied to it. This example is just, wow, it's so intense. Imagine you get into a huge fight with a friend, and in the heat of the moment you yell, I swear I'll never speak to you again. The sages ruled that even though you said it in anger, you have to keep that oath. It's a really stark reminder that our words aren't just sounds, they're commitments. Now, we might not be walking around swearing ancient oaths every day, but this principle still hits hard. Just think about the promises you made this year, to your family, to your friends, maybe even to yourself. This 1,000-year-old text is challenging us to take every single commitment, no matter how small, as seriously as a sacred vow. Okay, so we've established our agreements matter, and our words have immense power. But what happens when we mess up, when we break those agreements? This brings us to our final and maybe most practical lesson, the path to making things right. The Teshuvot give us this amazing, surprisingly modern 3-step guide. First, take responsibility. And not just from when you got caught, but from the exact moment you messed up. Second, make it right, completely. That means paying back the full value of what you took, even if it's worth more now. And third, and this is the big one, the whole point isn't just to settle a debt, it's to restore peace. We see this perfectly in a case where one partner actually steals from the other. The partner who was stolen from is allowed to be formally released from the partnership, not just for the money, but so he can part from his friend in peace. Real repair is about healing the relationship, getting rid of the anger and resentment, not just balancing the spreadsheet. So, what does all this ancient talk about business deals and angry oaths actually mean for us, right here, right now? Well, the principles are absolutely timeless, and they give us a real framework for our own lives, especially as we head into this time of year.
Think about it, that fight between Reuben and Shimon, that's the unresolved conflict you have with a coworker or a family member. Those ancient oaths, those are the modern promises and responsibilities we all have. And that ancient path to peace? Well, that's the apology you know you need to give. It's that tough conversation you've been putting off.
In the end, this 1,000-year-old guidebook isn't just giving us interesting legal history. It's giving us a call to action. It's forcing us to ask a very personal question. Based on these timeless ideas of integrity, responsibility, and the real need for peace, who is the person you need to talk to? Who do you need to make things right with?